So we know that most songs will have all of their notes in the same key. If we're playing a song in the key of D major, all of the notes in that song need to be part of the D major scale. Or if it's in the key of A minor, we play notes in the A minor scale, which, as we know, is if you go 3 steps up, is C major. So you could say if I'm playing a song in the key of A minor, all of the notes I play need to be in the C major scale. But you probably don't want to know which notes you can play, you want to know which chords you can play. I'm sure there are charts online that'll just list which chords fit into which key. And you should use those along the way, but you should also understand the reasons why. We know that this is the C major scale. In case you forgot how we use the whole, whole, half formula. So this is C, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Just remember that we're only playing white keys when we're in C major. All the whiteys are fair game. Then we find the major chord by using the 1, 3, and 5. So the C major chord fits in the C major scale, as you would expect. We know that C sharp is not in the scale, so we go to D, and D is in the major scale. So let's find the D major chord. And we'll find the D major scale from scratch using the whole, whole, half method. So this is D, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Again. So the 1, 3, and 5 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, D, F sharp, and A, and that's your D major chord. First thing we might notice is that this note is a black key, and there are no black keys in the C major scale. So you would say that the D major chord does not fit in the key of C major. But wait, what about D minor? That's an excellent observation. So watch, if we get that D major chord and we flatten the third note to F, we get the D minor chord. And that chord does fit in the C major scale. These are the notes, and here's the scale, all white keys. All good. So far we know that C major and D minor fit into the key of C major. I'm gonna go ahead and go through the rest of the chords pretty quickly, but I'm sure you'll follow along because you're wicked smart. This is the E major chord, but it doesn't fit because of this black key here, G sharp. So we move it down to G, and we get the E minor chord, and that does fit. So let's go up to F, and this is the F major chord. Fits perfectly. Let's take a look at G. This is G major. Oh wow, that fits perfectly, so cool. Now we get to A, and this is A major. But there's another black key. But if we bring that note down and we make it A minor, now it fits in the key of C major. And the last note of the C major scale is B. This is B major. You'll notice that there are 2 black keys in B major. So even if we make it minor by dropping the third note down, there is still this black key here. So neither B major nor B minor fit in the C major scale. So if we really wanted to play a B, we would have to flatten this note and this note. That's called a diminished chord, and that's what that little circle means, but don't worry about that yet. We'll get to that eventually. Cool, now we know which chords fit in the key of C, so let's try it on the ukulele. I'll play the chords one at a time, and you'll see how they sound nice together. So we have C, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, and A minor. I'll pick some of those chords randomly and you'll hear how they sound nice together. C, A minor, F, G, C. Oh man, that was so tight. If you don't know the chords on the ukulele, you can figure them out from scratch like we did in the last video, or you can just look them up for now. I think looking them up is fine because it'll get you playing, but at the same time you'll have the music theory in your back pocket in case you need it. Okay, so let's do all of that over again, but in the key of D. We start with the D major scale. You can use the whole, whole, half method to figure out the scales from scratch. Eventually you'll just probably do it by ear, or you'll memorize how they look or sound. This particular scale, D, is a little more complicated because it has white and black keys. Writing the individual notes down can help, but if you lose track as I'm going through it, it's fine, it's all gonna work out. So we know that the D major chord is gonna fit in the D major scale, duh. So the next note in the scale is E, and we can't play the E major chord because this note, G sharp, isn't in the scale. But if we flatten it, we get E minor, and that chord does fit in the scale. So if I quickly continue up the scale, we have D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, B minor, and C sharp major or minor don't fit, but C sharp diminished does. But again, don't think about that one yet. So let's try that on our uke. I'm gonna go through all the chords one at a time. D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, So if I just select a few of those chords, D, B minor, F sharp minor, A. So that's pretty cool, but it did take a pretty long time to figure all that out, and there has got to be a faster way. And there is. If you look at our list of chords in the keys of C and D, you might see a pattern. In both cases, the chords go major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. And that pattern works for every key. So for example, if you're playing the key of G, the notes of the G major scale are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. If we apply that same major-minor pattern to the notes of the G major scale, we will get G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, and F sharp diminished. That is a much quicker way to do that. I just had to find the notes of the scale and then apply that major-minor pattern. Now, remember when we gave each note of the scale a number? Like in the key of G, this is the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, and so on. In music notation, we use Roman numerals to describe chords, and we use capital letters for major chords and lowercase letters for minor chords. So here we have a new formula. We know the whole half formula for figuring out major scales, and we know the 1, 3, and 5 for figuring out major chords, the 1, flat 3, and 5 for figuring out minor chords. But this formula is, I think, the most important one because it'll tell you pretty quickly which chords are cool to play and which chords are not so cool. Now you can play whatever the hell chords you want. You could say, I want to play a major third chord and a minor fourth chord. The song Creep by Radiohead uses a minor fourth chord. So yes, you can and you should get away from the system every once in a while to keep things interesting. So once we know the notes of the scale, we can find which chords fit and we can just pick those chords and turn them into a song. But what if we want to write a song in the key of like A minor? We can't use that same formula because that formula applies to major keys. So the easiest way is just to find the relative major scale. So we have A, and then we go up 3 half steps, A sharp, B, C, and we have C major. So if we're playing in the key of A minor, we use the C major scale and then apply our formula, and then we know which chords we can play. If you don't believe me, I'm going to play some chords that are in the key of C major, but I'm going to start and end with the A minor chord, and it'll sound like a minor song, but I'm using chords from the major key. A minor, C, E minor, D minor, A minor. All of those chords are in the C major key, but it just sounded more minor because of where I started and where I ended. You could use a different formula that applies directly to the minor scale, but I think using the relative major makes it easier because then you only have to learn one formula. One formula for the scales, one formula for the chords, it just makes sense. But if you really want to know the formula for which chords fit in the minor key, you take those same Roman numerals, but you just start at the 6. Minor, diminished, major, minor, minor, major, major. You can see that it's still the same chords as the C major, they're just in a different order. Now, the order that you play the chords, that's called a progression. And you will come across some progressions that are pretty common, like the 1, 4, 5. So you get the first chord, the fourth chord, and the fifth chord. That progression is really common in classic rock and roll, in punk music, in folk music, I mean, all over the place. Another really popular progression is the 1, 5, 6, 4. So you get the first chord, the fifth chord, the sixth chord, and then the fourth chord. That one is really common in pop music. You can find a list of all the popular songs that use that progression, and there is like a lot and a lot. If you want, you can go on Wikipedia and read about all the common progressions and their histories. I'll put a link here and in the description. And that is how you find which chords fit into which keys. And of course you can find a chart that'll just list them for you on the internet. I don't have anything against using a chart like that. I think it gets you playing and learning stuff faster. So I'll link to one in the description below, or maybe I'll put it here. But it really is helpful to know which chords fit into which key and why they fit so good. All right, good luck, have fun.